Welcome into Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Local 613 from the Breda Pest Management Sports Desk. I'm your host, Landon Knight, alongside Craig Sager. And Craig, we have a super exciting show ahead today, but I want to start off with a reminder. This week we will not have a game of the week due to all teams having a bye week, but we do have our drive for the GHSA state title bracket show. That's going to be tomorrow night starting at 7:30. Stick around with us here till 10:30. You can find it on the Atlanta News First or the Peachtree Sports Network. And Craig, we're going to have the opportunity to hear from coaches from each classification, break down these brackets. We're also going to have recruiting expert Rusty Manziel here in the studio. What are you most looking forward to for tomorrow night?
I think it's going to be a very professional presentation. It's easy to get overwhelmed with the amount of games, the brackets, the picks, but we're going to break it down by classification. We have guests from each of the classes to talk, some of the big-time contenders. We filled out some new ones. We got Clinton Jenkins, Morgan County. I believe they're the #1 overall seed in the playoffs. You got Fellowship Christian coming in. We'll have a bunch of other coaches talking about their teams, their matchups in the first round, and then just having guys like Rusty Manziel here to break it down. He's covered a ton of games this year. He always brings that recruiting angle to it, just some of the players to watch. I think it's going to be very informative, and then I'm excited just to see what the studio is able to do and put this on, because we've seen bracket shows before with March Madness, college football selection committees, but doing this at a high school, it's a little tougher because there's a ton of teams.
And Craig, later today, we're going to have the opportunity to hear from Carrollton football head coach Joey King. And actually, Carrollton is they haven't only been dominant in 6A, but they're a nationally ranked program. This is actually their second season, perfect season, back-to-back. What makes this team so dominant?
Well, it's very interesting. Carrollton has championship expectations, but it's obviously tough in the highest classification in Georgia. They've had back-to-back undefeated regular seasons, but this year they really won a championship for the Trojans community. It's going to be tough, but they've been very consistent this year. They had a great performance against Douglas County, and Coach Joey King is a guy that has gotten it done. He's been great at Carrollton, and then obviously before that, Cartersville leading that team to championships.
And then, Craig, before we get into our fast break headlines later in the show today, we thought it would be fun to just kind of go back in time and talk about our alma maters, because they're actually all going to be going to the playoffs this year. I just want to ask, what was your favorite game you ever got to play in at Walton?
My favorite one was Harrison. It was the state playoffs. It was a double overtime game, and we had a really crazy season. So my sophomore and junior year at Walton, we were dominant. We went to the semifinals. Junior year, a deep run before that, before we lost I believe that was Cherokee in the playoffs. But my team started out very slow. We were 1-4, but we started to come together later. We moved some positions around, and we really shocked the Hoyas on the road in overtime. It was a great game. It was wild. One of the better football games I've been a part of.
Now let's take a look at our fast break headlines. Chad Garrison, St. Bias football coach, they have now parted ways. He served as the head coach for 5 seasons, compiling a 31-25 record. And during his time there, the program made the playoffs in 4 out of the 5 seasons. This past season, the team finished with a 6-4 overall record and a 4-4 mark in Region 5 classification for a missing the postseason. And with this resignation, St. Pius will now begin the search for a new head football coach to lead this program going forward. But Craig, you've got to talk with Coach Garrison before. What did you see from him in his time at St. Pius?
Well, St. Pius it's a special place. They haven't had a lot of head coaches, but they have a strong identity. They have a system that they're able to run, and I feel like this year it was a tough region situation for them. They started the year 4-0. They had to square off against a bunch of teams that I feel like are very talented. They ended up coming up short to them. The Southwest DeKalb game, Marist, they played them very close. I feel like they could have won that game. They were up most of the time we were checking the scores. Maybe things would have been different if they had gotten that win. And then they close out the year tough losses to Lithonia and Tucker. So I feel like St. Pius, this season, it was disappointing just being able to miss the playoffs this year, but still a 6-4 record. Some of these competitive outings, I feel like this is a program that is not far from being able to make those quarterfinal runs.
Now let's take a look at headline 2. Douglas County 4-star edge Jordan Carter has announced his top 4 schools, and he's announced these schools as Georgia, Georgia Tech, Tennessee, and Texas, or in Georgia Tech and Auburn. Carter is a former Texas A&M commit who reopened his recruitment earlier this fall. He is now ranked number 12 overall in the 247 Sports Composite, and when in the recruiting process, he said that he's looking for a family environment and strong player development in his next commitment. Craig, this Douglas County team will actually see Lambert in the first round of the playoffs. What have you seen from Jordan Carter earlier this season, and what did you see from him when they played Langston Hughes?
Well, I think he's a tone setter defensively, and when I look at Douglas County, they are so talented in the trenches. They have an unbelievable offensive line, tons of big-time prospects. So he's going up against them every day at practice. That's what makes them so tough. Feel like him opening up his recruitment late, narrowing it down to these top 4. Douglas County is a very important school in terms of recruiting. They have so much talent. These kids are well coached. They're well prepared. I feel like he's a big piece. He's got a great opportunity in the playoffs to be that disruptive force and really close out his varsity career.
Now let's take a look at headline 3. Gainesville 3-star running back Nigel Newkirk has narrowed down his college decisions to his top 5 teams, and he's named these teams as Georgia, Alabama, Florida State, USC, and Michigan. And Craig, actually, Nigel Newkirk was at Ola and transferred to Gainesville. He's clearly been able to see so much success there. He's ranked as the number 30 running back in the country per 247 Sports and the number 376 recruit in the nation, number 45 prospect in Georgia. What does Nigel Newkirk bring to the field?
Well, I mean, he's been very efficient running the ball, and Gainesville has a lot of playmakers they can share the offense with, but he's able to maximize his carries, his touches, averaging 8.5 yards per carry this year, 17 touchdowns. He's had big-time performances where he's taken 20 carries, 15. So he's been able to make a huge impact. He reminds me a couple years ago, Gainesville had a guy, Gavin Hall, come in and transfer in, make a big impact. So going to a school like Gainesville with these high expectations, fitting in, helping lead the offense, I feel like this has been a big year for him. He's going to continue to rise in the recruiting ranks.
Now let's take a look at headline 4. Mountain View head coach John Poinevent resigns as head coach, and he resigned after 6 seasons leading the Bears. Poinevent compiled a 76-46 record, but guided Mountain View to 3 straight state playoff appearances from 2021 to 2023. Craig, with Poinevent stepping down, what kind of coach do you think Mountain View will look for to keep this program competitive?
It's going to be tough. I feel like you've got to get a coach that's familiar with how Gwinnett County works. It is a huge school district. I think it's there's a stat 1 in 9 kids in the state of Georgia go to a Gwinnett County high school. So you have to know how Gwinnett County works. You got to be familiar with the competition. He came over from Brookwood. I feel like that was something that led to success early. He led them to 3 straight playoff appearances. They were very competitive. The last few years, though, just with new schools opening up, the students going to the new Gwinnett schools, losing some of the student body. I feel like Mountain View is in a position to get up to that next tier in terms of competitiveness, but the 1 in 9 season, I feel like it was a tough outing for them. Just offensively, they struggled. Only 114 points per game this year. They're going to need to find an offensive mind.
Now let's take a look at our last headline. Harrison cross country team finishes on podium at sectionals. Both the Harrison boys and girls cross country teams are headed to the state meet after podium finishes at the Class 6A sectionals at Allatoona Creek Park. And head coach Jason Scott says the sectional meet went just as planned, with the team focused on next week's state championship. The Class 6A State Cross Country Championship is set for next Saturday in Carrollton. Craig, both of these boys and girls teams are looking really good heading into this match in Carrollton. Do you think that they've got a real shot to bring home this state title?
It's going to be tough. We saw the other sectional results with the Marietta girls. They look very solid. But Harrison has been, I feel like, one of the better cross-country teams. They have a lot of depth. They're able to crowd the podium. It's going to be exciting. This will be this Saturday in Carrollton. I'm excited to see some of these times.
And Craig, as I mentioned earlier, after this, we're going to get the chance to hear from Carrollton football head coach Joey King. And what I find really interesting about him is that in his time, he's got to coach some very prominent athletes. He's got to coach Juju Lewis and Trevor Lawrence. But how would you describe his coaching style and just the culture he implements within these programs?
Well, with Carrollton, I just feel like they have leadership in every level of their team. They've got experience. They've got a ton of players that have come in that are new, but they're really able to excel on both sides of the field. And they've been more consistent this year than I expected, just with a lot of the pieces they had to replace. The win over Douglas County, I feel like that gives them a ton of confidence. That game was looming all season long, knowing it's going to be that top 5 matchup for the region championship. They went out there and handled business, so I'm just excited to kind of gauge what the confidence is of Coach King. We haven't gotten to talk to him much this season, so I'm looking forward to it.
And Craig, also, as we mentioned, all teams will have a bye week this Friday. The first round is going to start this following Friday, but this Carrollton team's going to see North Forsyth in the first round. What are they going to need to capitalize on to get this win?
Well, I think they've been able to just kind of focus on what they need to do to win. They aren't going to beat themselves, not turn over the ball, swarm them defensively, get a good game plan. I'm confident they'll come out with the win.
We'll be right back after this short break to hear from head coach Joey King of Carrollton. Don't go anywhere.
Nobody wants to hear the word roaches, because who wants to admit they have roaches?
I actually found some weird roaches. I didn't know what they were. I decided to choose Breda. I reached out to them. They check in routinely. They're explaining what they're doing, so there's a lot of clarity in the process as well. I think that just speaks to the level of safety that I feel with the organization.
The facts are, roaches are everywhere in our environment, so what are you doing to keep them out of your home?
Breda, Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
For a healthier future together, look to Northside Hospital.
This makes my dad proud. He went through his whole career as an employee. Now I'm the employer, something he didn't achieve.
We are signatory to IBEW and do IBEW people wherever we go that we feel like they are faster and better than any of our competition.
The advantages of being a signatory contractor is you're trained employees. You have unlimited manpower. It allows me to bid on jobs that I ordinarily would not go after.
Man, you know how to do this? Man, I don't even know. I was flipping burgers last week.
Violation, unsportsmanlike conduct, impersonating a craftsman.
Skilled trade unions are well-trained career pros, not part-timers. Construction is a rewarding and lucrative career with advancement potential, but you have to do it the right way with the right training. Learn how you can be a pro. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
You may know Tidal Wave Auto Spa as the world's greatest car wash, but did you know Tidal Wave also has the easiest fundraiser? So easy, our mascots think they can do anything, like making the big play on the big stage. Okay, maybe just a dream, but it is a super easy fundraiser. Just sell wash tickets and watch the money come in. If your team, school, church, or group needs funds, go to TidalWaveAutospa.com and get started today.
Georgia's Rome is the place to be this holiday season. Visit our vibrant downtown. Enjoy live concerts. Go ice skating. Shop holiday markets. And book a Christmas trolley tour. Make your weekend getaway one to remember. Plan your fun now at roamgeorgia.org.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is brought to you by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 613. Electrify your career. And by Breda Pest Management. They handle bugs and critters.
Welcome back into Georgia High School Sports Daily. We are at the Breda Pest Management Sports Desk, and now we will welcome Carrollton football head coach Joey King. Coach King, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey guys, thank you for having me.
Coach, this is your second perfect regular season back-to-back at Carrollton. Just talk about how you implement this winning culture and mentality within your program.
Oh, wow. I think that's an expansive question, but, you know, we really try to put our best foot forward each and every day. There's a gold standard that exists here in Carrollton, and it's a tradition that's been here for a long time. We talk often about Trojans past, present, and future. You know, we know there's a lot of people that have laid the foundation that we're standing on today, and we want to be great torchbearers of it while we've got it for those future Trojans to come.
And Coach King, running back Cameron Woods has over 23 touchdowns this season. What have you seen from him offensively?
He's a little spark plug. He's done a great job for us in the run and pass game, but he's a high energy, electric player. He's got really good speed, really good strength, really good balance, and he's a great practice player too. Cam practices with extreme effort. I mean, every time we hand him the ball at practice, he's taking it to the end zone, and that showed up on Friday nights for us.
And Coach, I want to talk about this receiving core. You got Peyton Zachary. I've seen him play a bunch, and then Ryan Mosley, two guys that really stepped up this year. How do they complement each other out there?
They're the leaders in that room. You know, almost the leaders of our offense, if you will. They've had successful seasons last year and doing a tremendous job for us this year. They play unselfish football, which is, in my opinion, a rarity for receivers. They want the credit and the glory, and that room can kind of be filled with divas if you allow it. But those guys do a great job of blocking for each other, and they're big time playmakers. But they're leading us on and off the field right now.
Then, Coach, I wanted to ask about your quarterbacks. You have two really good quarterbacks, and unlike a lot of schools, you are playing both quarterbacks a good bit. Just talk to me about what that brings to your offense.
Yeah, those guys are doing a great job. Mason Holtzclaw and C.J. Cypher. Mason as a senior and C.J. as a freshman. Again, I think they're playing complementary football. They do a good job of feeding off each other, encouraging each other. When one of them's down, the other one's quick to pick them up. When one of them makes a good play, the other one's quick to celebrate with them. So both of those young men are being unselfish right now, and both of them are being productive for us, leading our offense.
And then, Coach, the offense gets a lot of the credit for this team, but y'all's defense has played really well. You've only given up 23 points. Is the most y'all have given up all season. Just talk to me about how they've played.
Yeah, we still believe around here, even though our offense has been explosive, we still believe that defense wins championships. I think, especially in the highest classification in the greatest state to play high school football, you got to play great defense to win a championship. And those guys have done a good job. We've got a lot of senior leadership back. We're a little bigger in the trenches than we've been. Some of those guys that are playing have stepped up and had a really good offseason in the weight room. So I'm definitely proud of those guys. Coach Nate Masters is doing a tremendous job leading our defense.
And Coach King, I know that Hayden mentioned your quarterbacks from this season, but I want to touch on your quarterbacks in the past. Clearly, you've had the opportunity to coach great players like Juju Lewis, who is now at Colorado, Trevor Lawrence now with the Jaguars at Cartersville. Coaching these players, how are you able to see them set themselves aside from the rest of your team?
You know, I think from a quarterback standpoint, you know, aside from working on your craft and being in the spotlight, the really good ones learn how to lead. Obviously, those guys have all been naturally talented. You know, I'd like to take credit for that, but I can't. The good Lord and their parents did that. But those guys that have been great, that go on to continue to be great, they have a team focus, and they're focused on the team success, not just their individual success. Because those guys individually are going to be successful, you know, regardless of what team they play for. But playing for us and playing for me in the past, those guys have done a good job of playing team ball.
And I also want to expand that question on Juju. He's been able to get some recent playing time at Colorado. How has it been to see his development?
No, it's neat keeping up with him. You know, we knew he's super talented and has a very bright future ahead of him. And, you know, getting into college a year early, we knew it was going to be a little bit overwhelming, but his talent and drive have, you know, got him in the position that he's in right now, which is, I think he's starting this week against West Virginia.
And Coach, I want to talk about this big matchup you guys just had against Douglas County to clinch the region. looks like you guys played very well for a 4-quarter complete game. Lots of success in the red zone. Also, just how impressed were you with the focus of the team?
Yeah, I love our guys. Their focus, you know, we actually had a bye week before we played Douglas County, and their focus going into the region championship was exactly what it needed to be. We got a bunch of guys that just love football. You know, a lot of people in this day and time love recruiting. They love hype. They love a lot of other stuff that can come with the game. But we got a lot of guys that just love football, and that showed up for us on Friday night.
Then, Coach, I wanted to ask about y'all's plan for this week with this weird bye week and how y'all are using that to your advantage going into the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, so we kind of did the same thing the week before Douglas County. We used Monday to do a little team building, you know, had a little fun with that and watched some film. And then we treated Tuesday like a Monday, Wednesday like a Tuesday. And then we practiced early this morning, was a normal Wednesday practice. So from a planning standpoint and preparation standpoint, early in it, our coaches did a good job of self-scouting and self-evaluation. And then we just kind of used it to get ahead those 3 days.
And then, Coach, I wanted to ask about dealing with the expectations that comes with being at Carrollton when it comes to this team. Lots of times when dealing with kids, they can get in their own heads a little bit. How do you just kind of keep that out there and just play one game at a time?
Well, we coach that too. You know, we've got a mental performance coach that helps us. Christian Guerrera has been with us this year, trying to keep things in perspective for our guys. I think our coaches do a good job of keeping our kids humble, even the ones that are successful that are going to, you know, we got a couple of guys going to Georgia Tech, this and that. You know, we don't let those feelings of entitlement or accomplishment kind of sneak in. That's poison to a team. So our guys do a good job of remaining humble and coming to work each and every day.
Then, Coach, I want to talk a little bit about Rontre Welch? Just what he's been able to do as a sophomore. It looks like a big-time contributor in the return game.
He is, and he's a great receiver for us. He's shown a ton of growth from his freshman to sophomore year, physically and then mentally handling the game. We throw a lot at our guys. Our offense is it's a complex system to play in. You've got to understand the game. You got to be hungry to learn the game of football to be able to play in it. And he's done a really good job of learning the offense. We knew last year, as he was a freshman, returning kickoffs against our first kickoff team in practice. He probably returned 10 to 12 kickoffs against our first return team, or first kickoff team last year in practice. So we knew that he was going to be dangerous, especially as a kick returner.
And Coach King, you mentioned having team building activities this week. Just talk about what you've seen overall with your team chemistry this season.
We're in a really good spot. You know, not a lot of big egos, not a lot of me guys. We got a lot of we guys, a lot of team guys. We played laser tag the other day, indoor laser tag with them, and they're just fired up to be around each other. You know, and I challenged the seniors probably 2 weeks ago that their days of playing with each other are numbered. You know, and I've coached a #1 NFL draft pick. I've been around a #2 draft pick, and Ronnie Brown, and these guys that have played at the highest level. You know, they'll turn around and tell you that there's nothing like Friday nights playing with the guys that you grew up with and have gone to high school with and been in a community with. You know, so I'm just challenging those guys to appreciate the days and understand that those days are numbered, you know, so not to take them for granted.
Again, that was Carrollton football head coach Joey King. Coach, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck in the playoffs.
Thank you for having me. Go Trojans.
We'll be right back after this short break with more Georgia High School Sports Daily. Stay tuned. Welcome back into Georgia High School Sports Daily. We are at the Breda Pest Management Sports Desk. Now we're going to take a look at the remaining undefeated teams in the state of Georgia. I'm going to toss it over to Jack Gallagher. Jack, how are you feeling about this list?
It's a great list. This is the best of the best. I'm excited. We get matchups in the quarterfinals, some that may not happen until the state championship. But yeah, these are the best of the best. I'm very excited to see what happens during these playoffs. Look, and then in Class 6A, Carrollton and Grayson. That's a matchup that could happen in the quarterfinals. Down in 5A, only Thomas County Central and Langston Hughes undefeated. That's a matchup that wouldn't happen until the finals. And then in 4A, you got Central Carroll, Creekside, Cartersville. Cartersville, this is a team that I think was the beneficiary of a weaker region. So I think that may be an upset we see early. Back up in 5A, Thomas County Central winning their games by an average of 45 points. I like them going the whole way. Who are you guys confident that goes the distance, keeping their undefeated season? And then who do you think maybe falls short?
Well, it's interesting. With 6A, you have, the 4 undefeated teams remaining: Carrollton, McEachern, Grayson, Buford. The fact that Carrollton and Grayson are on that collision course, that would be a rematch of last year's state championship game. So one of those teams obviously guaranteed to fall. I think you bring up a good point in Class 4A, though, with Cartersville. Typically, this region would be more competitive. You look at teams like Hiram, they had a first-year head coach. Cedartown had a tough year. Allatoona was in that region. They're an up-and-coming team, but they really haven't been tested as much as you would typically like to see. So when you look at the other undefeated teams in Class 4A, Creekside, their schedule they've played, beaten teams like Rome, I feel like their undefeated season looks a little stronger. And then they're in a very tough spot in that bracket with teams like Kell, the region champion out of Region 6. I feel like they are a very talented team, and that could be a potential upset.
Yeah, honestly, I agree with Craig. For that 6A classification, you mentioned how Grayson and Carrollton saw each other in the state championship. While I do think that could potentially happen again, I think when you look at this Grayson team, we got to see them play earlier this season. They have linebacker Tyler Atkinson. We mentioned yesterday, he's getting the key to the city in Grayson. He's clearly made such an impact in this program. Texas commit, what he's been able to do on their defense is actually been unmatched, and the fact that they dealt with injury at that quarterback position, that backup quarterback coming in, being able to do what he's done has been great to watch this season. And then for 5A, you have Thomas County Central. Jack, we talked about that this morning, but they've passed for 2,090 yards, rushed for 2,090 yards as well. And what they've been able to do on their offense has clearly been very explosive. But also when you look at their defense, they've shut out so many different teams this season. That says a lot about this program on both sides of the ball. And then I have to say, for that 4A classification, I also made my pick as well. But I have Creekside winning it all. I think that quarterback Caden Benson has been able to do great things for this program. He's seen a lot of development, and if you look at the margins, how high scoring they are winning games, I think that Creekside has what it takes to get that win. And when you mention a team that might suffer a loss, I'm looking at this Cartersville team as well. They see Jackson Atlanta in the first round, have the potential of seeing Kell in the quarters. I do think that if Kell is able to capitalize, that they have what it takes to defeat this Cartersville team. They have players like Mooney Gibson. I'm excited to potentially see this matchup in the future, but I want to ask you guys, looking at these programs, clearly you look at this compiled list, they're all so dominant in all of their own ways, but guys, just kind of talk me through some of these teams, not only their coaching perspectives, but some of the players they have. What makes these teams so dominant?
Well, I feel like in 6A, you look at these teams, some of them aren't surprising. Buford going undefeated, Grayson, Carrollton. McEachern's the surprise team this year, and they had such a tough region with Hillgrove and Harrison. So I feel like that's a very intriguing team. One of the other interesting classifications is going to be Class 3A, because Sandy Creek's a team many expect with a player like Amari Latimer for them to go undefeated, a tough region with LaGrange, Troop in there. But West Lawrence and North Hall are teams that are very dangerous. They've been very successful this season. So I feel like that's an interesting trio right there.
Yeah, speaking of 3A in Sandy Creek, Amari Latimer, I was watching his film just before. He is such a dominant player, 5'11", 230 pounds, kind of stands like Ashton Genty in the backfield, standing straight up, just ready to go make a play. He's a guy that's committed to Wisconsin, but I have my eyes on Ohio State and Tennessee there. I think Ohio State actually thought that he would already be in their class by now. So that move hasn't happened yet, kind of opens the door for Tennessee. So a very interesting recruitment, but his eyes obviously on playoff football right now. Watching his film, it feels like it's all just touchdowns. I mean, he's had 6 touchdown games, 7 touchdown games. So Sandy Creek going to be a very, very tough out with Amari Latimer in the backfield there.
And guys, I also want to ask about this North Oconee team. We talked a lot about them at the beginning of the season. We actually saw them play Jefferson Clearly a very dominant program. Last season, they were the state champions. This year, they have quarterback Harrison Faulkner and Kamari Brooks, but they've seen a lot of injuries this season. How do you think that's going to affect this team going into the playoffs, and are you expecting a rerun of last season?
Yeah, I think it's certainly going to be tougher. And then even last year, you look at some of their playoff wins. They had that 28-26 win over Cartersville, an extremely close game, and the difference in that matchup was Landon Rowland being able to take the top off defenses and use his exceptional speed. So they've lost maybe a little bit of that explosiveness this season in the passing game. And then without Kamari Brooks, that is very tough. And they have not looked like the same team as last year without him. They still have found ways to win. They had a very tough region. Teams like Eastside played well against them, Flowery Branch, and late in the season. But I feel like when you compare North Oconee's undefeated season this year to last year, it's definitely not that 25, 30 point per game average margin of victory.
And then, Jack, I also just want to touch more again on this Thomas County Central team for this 5A classification. We got to talk about them earlier, but what have you seen from them this season?
Yeah, they have been very, very solid, 10-0 thus far. Thomas County Central, like I said, winning their games by an average of 45 points. We mentioned they have passed the ball for 2,090 yards this season. They have rushed the ball for 2,090 yards this season. So they're going to be able to attack you in a multitude of ways. If one thing's not working, the other part of the offense will. They've been very, they spread the wealth, whether it's running the ball or passing the ball. The defense has been dominant. And I think when you look at Class 5A, it's Hughes and it's Thomas County Central as the two undefeated teams. Hughes has had a strong year, but I think everything they do, Thomas County Central can match and even do a little bit better. That's why I have Thomas County Central winning the 5A championship. And I do think they're going to win against Hughes. I think both of those teams are on a crash course for the final. To me, it's nice that they're on opposite sides of the bracket because we do get a stellar championship. A potential championship in Hughes versus Thomas County Central.
And guys, I want to touch on this Sandy Creek team one more time, but we were talking about Amari Latimer, rushed for close to 2,000 yards this season. He's having multiple touchdowns per game, arguably one of the best running backs in the state of Georgia right now. They're going to see Cedar Grove in the first round of playoffs. What's it going to take for them to get that win?
Well, I mean, Jack was talking about just the body language of him, the presence on the field. He is such a special player. He's one of those once-in-a-generation talents. I just feel like he's going to be able to maybe solidify his spot for Mr. Georgia football in the coming rounds.
We'll be right back after this short break to hear from Cambridge head coach Tyler Jones. Stay tuned.
Customer service is everything in our industry, and one thing our clients love is when they call Breda, they get a live representative. At Breda, you get the attention you need and deserve right when you call in. Your appointment gets scheduled right then and there, and you get a specific time, no window of arrival. Our staff are your neighbors. They know what's going on in your community, and they're invested in doing it better.
Breda, Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
A journeyman with Local 85, when you turn out, you can be hitting six figures.
Hey, I have your back, you have my back. We're gonna do this together. We're one for all for one.
College just wasn't for me. Let's look into actual career jobs that wouldn't take college, where I wouldn't, lose money and all that. Instead of losing a lot more money at the end, why not make money and make more money at the end?
You may know Tidal Wave Auto Spa as the world's greatest car wash, but did you know Tidal Wave also has the easiest fundraiser? So easy, our mascots think they can do anything, like making the big play on the big stage. Okay, maybe just a dream, but it is a super easy fundraiser. Just sell wash tickets and watch the money come in. If your team, school, church, or group needs funds, go to TidalWaveAutoSpa.com and get started today.
Nothing is as pure and special as high school sports in the state of Georgia. And Score Atlanta is its #1 fan. High school sports are about families, kids chasing their dreams, communities supporting their teams year in and year out, neighborhood signs, and off-season workouts when nobody's looking. It's the biggest stage that young athletes get to climb for the very first time. And Score Atlanta wants to connect your brand with Georgia high school sports in ways that have never been available before. In addition to our Georgia High School Sports Daily Show, Score Atlanta provides continuous coverage of the Georgia high school football season through its televised games, stories, and rankings. Score Atlanta puts on some of the most notable events like the Corky Cal Dave Hunter Classic, the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame, and the Georgia Elite Classic. All of these elements offer sponsors exclusive opportunities and exposure. So let's talk about how you can reach millions of people who enjoy Georgia high school sports. For more information, contact Score Atlanta today.
Welcome back into Georgia High School Sports Daily. We are at the Breda Pest Management Sports Desk, and now we will welcome Cambridge head coach Tyler Jones. Coach Jones, thank you for joining us today. Coach, can you hear us? Okay, Craig, so when you look at this Cambridge team, we're going to wait for Coach to get his microphone right, but they just beat Blessed Trinity in overtime. How big of a win was this for this team?
It was massive, and I felt like this was going to be a tough matchup for them because BT has the ability to really take away that run game. With some of the receivers Cambridge has, like a Craig Dandridge, they're pretty much unguardable. You got to spend a lot of attention, but they needed that offensive balance to be able to win that game. They've been able to find enough success running the ball and then defensively make plays when they need to. But I feel like there's no question what makes them dangerous is the speed they have outside of the receiver position.
Yeah, I think when you look at what they do really well, it's what Coach Jones has brought over from his days at Walton. They're a really, really tough offense to stop. I mean, we saw what he did at Walton. He helped lead Walton to a state finals appearance. Connor Langford at quarterback, Craig Dandridge, Hudson Kuchera, combined, they create this offense that's really, really hard to stop. And, you know, when you have a four-star guy out there, you want to go put 2 or 3 guys bracketing him to make sure that he doesn't go out there and get 200 yards. But they have a really good FCS wide receiver in Hudson Kuchera and 2 or 3 other guys in that pass catcher room that are really scary if you're playing them man-to-man.
And guys, so in that first round of playoffs, they're going to see Ola, but they were able to secure a home game, meaning Ola will be on the road to see them. What does it mean to get to have a first round game at home?
I think it's huge. Last year, didn't they have the win over Cedartown? Was that on the road?
I believe that was on the road.
I mean, that was a huge result. So they aren't afraid to take that 4 seed. I mean, just making the playoffs is huge enough for them. But what's interesting about this year's team, Craig Danger just putting up huge numbers, but I feel like if they need to, they could go to him even more. He's that talented, 16 touchdowns already. Once he gets hot, once he gets going, he can really just make the game get out of control quickly. But to me, it's the lack of turnovers they've had. They've been able to protect the football while maintaining that aggressive offense.
Yeah, I think when you look at what a home playoff game does, it's not exactly going to these hard stadium to play. Some of these stadiums are really hard to play at. The majority of them are just high school stadiums. They're really a dime a dozen. I think being at home and being in a familiar environment, not having to go take a 2, 3, 4, 5-hour road trip in the playoffs really is helpful to just keep your kids' minds where they need to be.
Now we're going to welcome Cambridge coach again, Tyler Jones. Coach, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course. Sorry about that technical difficulty.
You're all good. So, Coach, your team just beat Blessed Trinity in overtime. What was the momentum like at this game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're a really good opponent. They got a tremendous defense, a really physical offense. I mean, it was a really big win for our program in general. Last year we lost to them in overtime, so 2 years in a row overtime is kind of crazy. But fortunate to come out on the winning side this year. So I mean, it's really exciting. You know, as you guys were kind of talking about, to get a home playoff game, that's a tough thing to do. So pretty special. So we're excited to to be able to host in Bear Country.
And Coach, how do having players like Craig Dandridge open up your offense?
Craig's special. I think it's pretty easy to say he's one of the most dynamic athletes that I've ever had the pleasure to coach. He's just a guy that you have to account for. I mean, he's got opportunities like this clip right here. When he touches the ball, he's got the chance to score every single time. So, he adds a layer of just explosiveness to our offense and allows us to do some other things offensively. We talk about playing complementary football. So we're very fortunate to have him.
And Coach, talk about some of the plays Connor Langford was able to make with his legs in his last game, just showing that underrated athleticism.
Yeah, Connor's a really good athlete. We don't ask him to run a ton because that's not necessarily what our offense is designed to do, but, he's very quick and he's a smart football player. He understands that, when things hit the fan, that we've got to extend the play or just kind of get out and get what we can get, taking care of the football. Because we preach efficiency and just kind of moving the chains. We are able to hit some home runs with players like Craig, but we really just want to move the chains, and he understands that, and he's willing to use his athleticism.
Coach, I wanted to ask about the depth of this wide receiver room. We all know about Craig. He's the 4-star Georgia commit, but you'll have 2 or 3 other really, really good pass catchers in there.
Yeah, I don't hide behind the fact that I believe we have the best receiving core in the state. Starts with Craig, but we've also got he's very senior heavy, but senior Hudson Kashera. Huddy's one of the best route runners and has some of the strongest hands of any kid I've ever seen. He catches everything. Our quarterbacks trust him to be in the right place and catch the ball. At the end of the day, that's what you want a receiver to do: get open and catch the ball. And then we've got our tight end that's a Cornell commit, Drew Hardwick. Drew's a very underrated tight end in the state, I believe. He's 6'5", he's 235, so he looks the part. He blocks the part, but he's got tremendous hands. Craig, I'm sure you saw him in the spring game versus Walton make a couple of Gronkowski catches, but he's tremendous. And then we've got 2 outside receivers that kind of rotate in that spot. Both of them are about 6'3" and 6'4", Grant Campbell and Andrew Marsden. They just add another element of being able to stretch the field, being a big body receiver to create some mismatches. And, we're very fortunate to have that depth.
And then, Coach, I want to ask you about defense. Against a team like BT, they were really focused on running the football. You guys had to play more than a 4-quarter game to come out with that win. The physicality had to be there. What has impressed you just with the defense this year, being able to come together, improve, and some of the senior leadership you have?
Yeah, like you said, the senior leadership has been huge. Last year our linebackers were kind of small, undersized, first-year players, but all 3 of those guys really returned this year, and they've made a ton of plays for us. So it kind of starts with our linebacking core. Our D-line is kind of smaller and undersized, but they play extremely hard. They play pretty sound defense. And then we've got some guys on the back end that hold it down. Cameron Perotti, he's a UNLV commit. He can absolutely fly, but he finds himself in a really good position to make tackles for us, if they get through the front. But our linebackers have really stepped up this year, and their alignment is better, their effort is better, their tackling is better, and at the end of the day, that's what it is. So we know that teams are going to try to run the ball against us, and those guys are flying around the other night making tackles and getting stops when we needed them to.
And then, Coach, when you took this job, being able to play these home playoff games was obviously an appeal of this. Last year, you guys had to do it all on the road. What are you looking forward to just being at home?
Yeah, I think just the excitement in our community to have another home game. We have great crowds that show up and support us. Not having to put everybody on 2 to 3 hour road trips is nice. So, just to be able to play in front of your people is always special. To give our seniors another opportunity to play on their home turf, that's another special thing. So we're excited to be home, and, hopefully, it's probably going to be the only one, so we're going to make the most of it. And then, the good news about playing on the road last year is that, it doesn't seem to bother our kids. Like, they don't mind getting on a bus and going somewhere else and playing in another stadium. So I'm hoping that will hopefully, pay dividends in the future down the road, and we can make a run.
And then talk real quick just about this Ola matchup. I feel like the Mustangs are a very solid team. They've been battle-tested with that region they came out of.
For sure, that region's extremely competitive. You know, it kind of came down to that last week to see how everything was going to sort itself out. But Ola's a physical team. They're going to try to run the ball. They're going to play sound defense. They're not an overly complicated team, but you know what they do, they're good at. And so we are going to have our hands full. We're going to have to take care of the football on offense. We're going to have to stop the run and tackle well. But you know, we're excited for it.
Again, that was Cambridge football head coach Tyler Jones. Coach Jones, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck in the playoffs.
Of course, thank you guys for having me. Go Bears.
We'll be right back after this short break with more Georgia High School Sports Daily. Stay tuned. Welcome back into Georgia High School Sports Daily. We are at the Breda Pest Management Sports Desk. As you can see, we had an outfit change during the commercial break, but now it is time for our Show Me Your Spirit segment. We are all proud alumni of Ola High School, Walton High School, and a Flowery Branch. But I have to start by saying that if I was going to give a superlative to best dressed, it would definitely go to Craig with this Letterman's jacket. I'm loving the outfit, Craig. But we're just going to kind of recap our different schools. I'll start with Ola. So the first year that Ola actually made it to the playoffs was in 2016, and we had running back Chris Rodriguez, definitely one of the best running backs to ever come through this program. He's now with the Commanders. But then I'm going to jump to my sophomore year of high school. Actually, this season we went 1-9, and a little bit of tragedies going on during that season. But then in my junior year, it was time for that rebuild. It was the best record that the school had seen. We went 7-3, and it was just amazing to be able to see that program go from going 1-9 to 7-3. We actually had to play Ware County on the road, take that long road trip down to Ware County, which was definitely interesting. In senior year, in 2020 COVID year, we actually got our first home playoff game. We got to see Coffee County, and it was truly amazing to be able to be a part of Ola during that season. But this season, I just want to touch on some great players that we have. First, starting with the coach, we have Dustin Adkins. He came from Florida. This is actually his second season with Ola, and what he's been able to do with that program has truly been remarkable. He has the best coaching record at Ola so far. We have quarterback Caden Worley, and I want to give him a shout out. I've actually got to see him grow up. He only has 4 yards left to break Ola's passing record, which is incredible. He's already broke the touchdown record. Just being able to see his development as a player has been incredible. It's his junior season, and then we have running back Caden Way, 4-star running back. Super excited to see what he's going to be able to do, but we just spoke to Cambridge coach Tyler Jones, and they will face them next week on the road. Definitely excited to see what the Mustangs could do. Craig, talk a little bit about Walton.
All right, so I graduated in 2006, so it's been about 20 years. I feel like Walton has been the most consistent team out of Cobb County. They are always a playoff team. They have just a really high standard, and what's so special about Walton to me is the success through, you see that hit on the left, that was against Milton. I got absolutely leveled on that one. My only career fumble, but they actually ruled it an incomplete pass, so it didn't count, but it was a fumble. Then the other one's a catch against Central Gwinnett, my last high school game. But to me, it's the academic success of Walton, but really athletically. They have won more Directors' Cups than any school in the state, and that is from rewarding all the different school programs, athletic programs, calculating it. So it was just special to go to school where you have the volleyball success, the cross country, the basketball's been a little better, but some of the other sports, I know I'm missing one, swim and dive, cross country, there's just so many incredible powerhouses, including volleyball at Walton.
Yeah, so growing up in Flowery Branch, you know, I grew up during the heyday of Flowery Branch. Connor Shaw, Lee Shaw was the head coach. My first year being a family made the state finals. I was 7 years old. And growing up into that, you wanted to go to Flowery Branch. You wanted to be part of that. It was really it was a special community. My first year, we were not good. I think we won 3 games. We were bad. We brought in Ben Hall. This year, we have a first-year head coach, Michael Perry. As a guy that's a Gainesville alum, it's kind of an odd thing having one of your biggest rivals coaches as your coach. But we've really taken a step forward. 7-3, home playoff game after 3 straight losing seasons, the first time since the first 3 years of the school being open from 2003 to 2004. And the job that Coach Perry and this coaching staff and this team have done is amazing. Transfer quarterback Brett Strum's done an amazing job. I can't say enough. A 3-year starter at West Hall came in this year, has thrown already for over 2,000 yards. They'll host Ware County next week. Little concerning, really tough game, but we don't have to make the trip down there. It's going to be a 5-hour road trip for them up to Flowery Branch. I'm excited to see it's the first home game they've hosted since 2020. And, it's a tough place to play. We haven't lost a home playoff game since 2013. But growing up there, it's interesting to see that this evolution of, even though we've had a few down years, that the administration and the community still want to be really good, and we still want to win games, and this is what we expect at Flowery Branch.
And then, Hayden, I just have to give Ola the shout out, but actually the first time that they won a playoff game was last season against Flowery Branch. Hayden, how did you feel after this game?
It was a rough game. Kind of ended the coaching tenure of one of Flowery Branch's head coach, but, it was like, y'all had a great season last year. Technically, y'all went undefeated. Y'all won your first region title. Just an amazing season for y'all.
And then you also mentioned that Flowery Branch will host Ware County in the first round. What is it going to take for Flowery Branch to get this win?
I think defensively they have to get Ware County into third and long situations. They have a really good pass rush, but they don't have an amazing – they're a little undersized on the defensive line. They play really well. They play sideline to sideline, but they struggle against the power run.
And then, Craig, who's Walton going to see in the first round?
They're going to see McEachern. McEachern already beat Walton week 1, 50-17. It's a very tough rematch. I feel like that first week, though, Walton was still figuring out a lot of things at quarterback. They're going to have to find ways to get open at the receiver position and balance out that offense.
As I mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit more about playoffs back here tomorrow night. You can tune in at 7:30 for our bracket show. We're going to break down every classification from 7:30 to 10:30. As always, thank you for tuning in with us here today, and we will be right back here tomorrow with more Georgia High School Sports Daily.
We saw some squirrels were trying to get into the attic. I hear those squirrels still scampering through because I didn't go through those services initially.
So our job is to go up there and figure out where they're getting in and trap and remove and get those unwanted guests out. But then the next big step is not just seal the entry point where the critter got in, but seal the entire roof line. The most common mistake is only sealing the entry point you see.
Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know, just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
For a healthier future together, look to Northside Hospital.
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? Will people have your back in the heat of battle? Will you still train like a champion in the pursuit of greatness? You will when you become an IBEW electrical worker. Join our team. Visit IBEW613.org.